regular season's over now.
Yes.
We're in the championship for each conference
game, yeah.
now. It's happening right now, Saturday. I want to say this because
the Big 12 championship is on right now.
I can't recall a season this chaotic for college football. A lot of those YNs, dog, I've never seen like just bunch of dudes, like a bunch of brothers, for whatever reason, just act so crazy, act so out of sorts. Planting the flag, doing a little gun celebration towards other people, spitting in people's faces. I'm like, what is going on? Like, these young dudes are just wilding, and Bill Belichick wants to come to this league? Hell nah, he tripping. This is not the NFL. This is not the NFL. These young dudes are different. This is not 10 years ago. That's why Nick Saban got the hell out of here. He was like, this NIL and these young dudes are wilding. Like, yeah, he had some dudes in the past that was, tripping on the sideline, like about to fight dudes, but not like this. I just wanted to get that out there because I saw on College Game Day this morning they were talking about it. But it's interesting, man. Like, just the top 12 right now. Boise State is the 10th seed. They just had their conference championship game yesterday. They blew the brakes off of UNLV.
I think they get in.
Yeah, they're definitely getting in for sure. They're definitely. UNLV was ranked 2. Let me look at the. I gotta look at this.
Because remember, people, it goes by. The guarantees are based on your rankings after you win your conference. So if you win your conference and you win the top 12, you pretty much a shoo-in to get in.
Right.
Because the Big 12 winner probably not get in because 16 Iowa versus 15 Arizona State. They'll probably move up in the rankings, but it's not a guarantee. Like you said, Army probably isn't getting in because they're 24th ranked. So it's going to be very interesting.
Here's the thing, because a lot of conversation was about Miami. Miami is like 12th right now. I'm actually shocked they're still in the top 12. I thought they would be out of the picture. But that bubble between 11 to 11 to 15, there's a conversation about who should get in. Should Alabama still be in if these certain teams like Arizona State University, if they win their conference championship, and I forgot who else, but there's conversation about those 11 through 15 teams, like who should be in the final 2 spots. And I'll say this: Miami does not deserve to be in the top 12. They don't, because they had a cupcake schedule. And they lost to 2 teams that they were better than, and they weren't even ranked. Now, Syracuse, I think it was, they are 9-3, but they were not ranked.
They ranked now.
Now they're ranked, yeah, because they beat Miami, but they were not ranked.
They lost to Georgia Tech and Syracuse.
ACC wasn't good this year, so I was looking at.
They also ain't beat nobody.
Exactly, and they almost lost to a lot of bad teams like Cal, Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech game, I was watching that live. Yeah, it's just so many games where you're looking at it, you're like, why are you in a back and forth with these teams? Louisville, I thought Louisville was going to be competitive. They weren't really competitive this year. It's just so many games you can point to where you're like, they're not a top 12 team. Yeah, they're not a top 12 team. I was watching College Game Day on ESPN, and the guy who represents the ACC was trying to make an argument for Miami. He's saying, how is Miami ranked below Alabama when they have 2 losses? Because they don't play nobody. Their strength of schedule is not on the caliber of an Alabama. That's why an Alabama has beaten really good teams. What do you mean? Like, these guys are so biased towards their conference that they just disregard the importance of strength of schedule. They disregard the importance of playing good competition. If they could have scheduled guys years ago, you're Miami, you're freaking Miami. Why are you going against these cupcakes of the ACC? It just blows my mind. Like these teams that have been prestigious, that have like just history of winning, they schedule all these bad teams and then expect for the committee to all of a sudden give them an opportunity to get in. No. You either win 11 games, have like one loss, or you go undefeated. That's it. That's the only opportunity you have, unless your conference allows you to get into the championship game. If you're not in the championship game, I'm sorry. Like, that's just how it is. It's a tough break, but that's just how it is. And I don't think Miami deserves to get in. What about you? How do you feel about that whole argument in regards to, like, well, this team has 3 losses, but, well, we only have 2 losses?
I don't think Miami is all that good, in my opinion. I do want them in simply because I want to see how Cam Ward plays in a playoff setting. So that would be, but the team itself, they probably shouldn't get in. But then again, you would have to replace them with the teams that have like 3 losses and stuff. And that's just like, how can you really justify that?
I can. It's called strength of schedule.
I mean, yeah, but like, what's the point of the playoff format being 12 teams if we're just gonna play the strength of schedule stuff? We might as well have kept it at 5 or 4 or 5 teams, 4 teams.
Well, this year is unpredictable. This year is a lot. It's a lot crazier because the teams in the top 12, actually top 15, I wouldn't say like they're significantly better or worse than one another. Like, they're all sort of grouped in. Maybe Oregon and maybe another team, you can say, okay, they're the cream of the crop, but like everybody else, you could argue like, man, they're not that much better than this other team. So you have to play the strength of schedule game, in my opinion, because at the end of the day, the difference between 3 and 2, you have to go off the strength of schedule because SEC, look how many teams are ranked this year. Look at how many teams have been in the discussion for the playoffs. You have to go off the strength of schedule. Big Ten as well. The amount of teams in the Big Ten, they got like 18 teams in the Big Ten. SEC got a mad amount of teams. You have to go off the strength of schedule.
SEC has 7 ranked teams right now.
Bruh. And you're trying to tell me that compares to the ACC schedule? The ACC conference? It doesn't. So that's where I'm at with it. Like, strength of schedule is very important. I understand, like, SEC bias. But there's a reason why the committee is so high on the SEC championship, so high on the SEC conference, because they understand that majority of NFL prospects come from the SEC. Majority of the best talent comes from the SEC, and the best teams, majority of the time, come from the SEC. That's why the SEC tends to get favorable because they're in the harder conference, and the more talented teams are in the SEC. So.
But then again, I think the ACC team won a natty way before a Big Ten team recently. Was the last team, the last non-SEC team to win the natty? Wasn't it Clemson?
Clemson, yeah. But I think Clemson, whoever wins.
Oh no, it was Michigan. I'm so dumb. Michigan won.
Whoever wins between SMU and Clemson, I think they'll get it automatically. I think what a conversation.
Clemson, they gonna go from 17 to jump over like Indiana and them, because Indiana, both the teams is ranked up over Clemson.
That is a good point.
SMU is like 8. SMU
Clemson
is 8.
Clemson does have 3 losses.
So unless they jump up, they might. The committee say we might just jump y'all up 5.
I think the argument okay. So this is where I remember like they were talking about it, where in order for Alabama to automatically be in, SMU has to win. If SMU loses, then that's where things get dicey. Yeah. Because you got to remember, Alabama has 3 losses. Clemson, they'll have an extra win, so they'll have 10, but they have 3 losses. But they won their championship, conference championship. So that's where things get a bit dicey. Clemson, did they get in?
Just one more time for the viewers at home, you do not get an automatic bid just for winning your conference. You have to be ranked. Whoever is ranked, the first 4?
I thought it was first 5. You told me it was the first 5.
Okay, the first 5 conference championship winners based on their rank gets in.
Yeah.
So Army is more than likely not going to get in.
Nah, they're definitely not going to get in. And their schedule is probably not favorable as well. I mean, they're 10-1, but like, who did they beat? That's the question.
Yeah. Now we're talking about if Clemson wins their championship game against SMU, do they jump up enough to get that that bid
That's
over Alabama,
that's a
over a
good
team
point.
like Alabama.
Because again, the ACC, the scheduling wasn't that strong this year,
It wasn't.
and they got their ass blown out by Georgia. Remember, the first week they got their ass blown out by Georgia. So this committee, it was the first week. That's a long time ago, but you lose to South Carolina. Remember, South Carolina beat them last week. So does Clemson automatically usurp South Carolina? I don't think so. I don't think the committee is going to look at it and say, you know what, because they won their conference championship, that they deserve to usurp South Carolina when South Carolina.
Because they beat Virginia Tech. Clemson beat Virginia Tech. They beat what other similar opponents they
They probably beat They probably had Louisville on the schedule. They probably had Syracuse.
They did lose to Louisville.
Oh, they lost to Louisville.
Yeah, they lost
Clemson
to Louisville.
lost to Miami. Beat Louisville.
But then again, Clemson they played more ranked teams than Miami.
They had a better schedule.
They played South Carolina.
Exactly.
They played
Georgia.
They played Georgia.
They played Georgia Tech.
No, they did not.
They didn't play Georgia Tech. Now they're playing SMU.
They did play Pitt, who was playing.
Oh yeah, Pitt was playing well. They were playing. They weren't. I don't think they were ranked. They were ranked at one point in the season, but Pitt was actually a pretty solid team.
Mm-hmm.
So.
And they playing a top 10 team today.
Yeah.
I think Clemson, if they win, they should get in over Miami. I'm not going to lie.
No. I think they're better than Miami for sure.
Yeah.
But my thing is, do you put them over South Carolina? Like, South Carolina just beat them. That's the thing.
That is true.
And South Carolina plays in a tougher conference. So do you really think that Clemson deserves to be over South Carolina? When South Carolina plays in the tougher conference, and South Carolina was able to get 9 wins in the SEC. Like, South Carolina is not known. Well, they were like years and years ago, but nowadays South Carolina is not known as this juggernaut of a program. Like, they all of a sudden, like, it gets tricky. It gets tricky. I'm glad I'm not on this committee, but I think Alabama is going to get in regardless. I think that it's just that the Alabama bias is just too strong, and they beat Georgia, they beat Ole Miss, they've beaten
South Carolina.
Man, they got so many good wins. It's just you cannot take Alabama out of this unless I don't know, maybe ASU, Arizona State, maybe you have an argument for them because they only have 2 losses and they play Iowa State right now. But besides them, I just don't see no other team usurping Alabama. I don't even think Clemson does. I just really don't see it. But we'll have to see after this week. Yeah. I'm going to be watching. I'm definitely going to be watching this to make sure. All right, that'll do it for our college football segment.
Just let me be me.